So I asked my subscribers what I should review this week in a YouTube poll, and then YouTube didn't show the poll to anyone. So I'm reviewing the film Alarum, and to that you may be saying, okay, what the hell is Alarum? Because that's exactly what I thought when I stumbled upon this film. It's a spy action movie and stars Stallone and Eastwood, and sorry to let you down, but it's Scott Eastwood, not Clint, and it's also Sly Stallone, not Frank. It stars lots of actors I like, talented actors. It has Sly Stallone in it, who I loved in the movie Cobra. It has Willa Fitzgerald, who was Roscoe in season 1 of Reacher, and it has Mike Colter from the series Luke Cage. He was Luke Cage. Scott Eastwood is also in the film. And you know how some movies are just instantly forgettable? Well, this movie came out in January of this year, 2025, and didn't even seem to make a ripple in the water. It got forgotten before it even came out. And that score on IMDb, I need to point out, that's lower than the score for Madam Web was. And that film was a catastrophic mess so bad that the lead actress allegedly sacked her agent for getting her that film. I'm just going to have to get into what happens in this film because it's that which determines how I'm going to rate it. It's not the acting or the actors. They're talented, but are not used well in this film at all. It's also not the music, because the film opens up in Prague, and the soundtrack is Mozart's 38th Symphony. A lovely piece of music. It's the Prague Symphony over aerial shots of Prague, and that's a very good start. But then the opening scene happens, and it kind of exemplifies the entire movie, because it opens up looking out of a window, and 2 bullets make holes in the window, and then someone screams out in pain. We're seconds in, and I already don't know what's going on. Eastwood is on the floor injured when the camera swivels around, and there's someone else on the floor not moving, and I have no idea what's happened, what's happening, or who anyone is. I don't even know if the bullets came from outside of the room or from the inside and went out of the window. An armed guy then comes in through the door. Eastwood stays on the floor and grabs the man's weapon when he gets close, fights him, and there are really tacky looking CGI blood effects and frankly not great choreography. It would be very hard to control someone who's standing up when you're still on your knees. They have all the power of their legs and you don't. But Eastwood beats the guy. Then Roscoe comes in and kicks Eastwood in the back. They punch each other in the face, then fall out of a second floor window onto the roof of a car, and she says to him, "What are you doing after this?" And now they're just in love. What do you mean they're in love? That was the entire romance. Who are they? After the opening credits, the film cuts 5 years into the future, and this couple are now married. And I've been thinking about what went wrong with this scene, and it's kind of everything. The film has places that it wants to take the story, but doesn't seem to know how to get there, so it just jumps. Now, is it possible to do a fight scene that turns into a love scene? I'd say yes. It's just hard, that's what she said. But in 2025, you're going to get complaints that you're mixing violence and romance. For me, the fight scene needs to be longer. That's what she said. But it would help if it had some stakes and I knew who anyone was. But have her come in and attack him and they fight and win each other's respect during the fight, and slowly the fight becomes more playful and it turns into wrestling and they end up looking into each other's eyes and breathing heavily. She tries to pin him down and then kisses him. That could kind of work, because if he does the pinning down, the complaints are probably going to get even worse. But all of that could maybe work. Maybe. But the film needs to be very careful not to have it look like someone's being forced and enjoying it. The film then cuts 5 years into the future and we miss this couple's entire relationship. It all just happens off camera. That happens during the credits while they're playing Dvorak. All of that was wrong with the film, and that was before the opening credits have even happened. Why did Sly Stallone sign on for this movie? Because something has gone terribly wrong with this film. And it's the story. It's like there are whole scenes missing from the film, and I don't know why that is. Maybe the director just didn't film those scenes. It could just be very badly written, or it could be the producers cut the film into bits, left the bits on a floor, and rats ate the missing scenes. Right after that, we cut to the married couple, and they're now in Poland somewhere, talking about having dinner with a French couple the next day, which they do. They're supposed to go on a historical walk through some Polish woods the day after this dinner, but the French guy has a bad leg and Roscoe is communicating with someone through some kind of weird walkie-talkie device, and this person orders her to stay behind and protect the French guy, and the film at no point even explains why. Later on, she leaves the French guy in a wardrobe and the film just forgets about him. Legend has it that French guy is still living in that wardrobe. So Scott Eastwood, who is the male part of the fighting couple, who for some reason in the film is called Archibald, goes on the walking tour with the French lady, and for some reason gets really spooked by hearing aircraft. Like, that's a rare thing in Poland, and it's hard not to notice the weird cliched ideas Hollywood has about Eastern Europe. Most of the film is set in Poland, and at one point Scott Eastwood goes to what the film calls a local village. This is what the film calls a village, and that isn't a village. This was supposedly filmed in America, in the city of Oxford in Ohio, but it's Eastern Europe, where Hollywood is convinced everything is grey and post-Soviet and deprived. Parts of Poland are really nice, you know. This is from the south of Poland in the mountains. Nah. If you want Poland, just film it in America and turn the colour down to 0. You know, contrary to what Hollywood seems to think, Poland in real life does not look like Mordor. They do have sunshine sometimes. They also have cities and plains and plants grow there, and some of the cities are really quite nice. They also don't tend to tolerate running gun battles on their streets without the Polish government getting very ornery. But it's fine. I'm sure the Polish government will be just delighted with the load of heavily armed Russians turning up and blowing up their buildings. The film explains that by having a character just call someone, and using the political corruption that Hollywood is sure is there to make the Polish government not stop a roving, heavily armed warband of Russians blowing up buildings. That just seems to be the Hollywood standard when depicting Eastern Europe. Have it bleak and grey and corrupt and deprived. The plane crashes after someone in the back shoots both the pilots, which is quite a bold strategy. So the group on the walk hear the plane, and then they hear it crash into the ground. And the French lady says, "Is that hail?" And what do you mean, is that hail? In what world does hail sound like a plane crashing? The walking tour go to investigate the crash for reasons. The French lady is a doctor, and Scott Eastwood, well, he just wants to. And that causes the whole rest of the story. The group get to the crash site and the French lady looks at the crashed plane and asks, "What is it? What do you think it is?" I've watched the entire of this film and I'm still baffled at what the plot was even supposed to be, because the two pilots seem to be from a secret rogue spy organisation called Alarum, and they're so secret that all of their members have very noticeable Alarum tattoos. Eastwood investigates the pilots and just comes up with the idea that one of them may have swallowed something. So in front of the French doctor, he guts one of them with a knife and finds a memory stick. Then Mike Coulter turns up with the small army of Russians looking for the memory stick, does in the French doctor, and then Scott Eastwood disarms one of the Russians, none of whom seem able to aim, and fights his way out of the situation. Now, I'm going to preface this with the information that an automatic rifle, like the one he's carrying, typically has a magazine holding 30 rounds. During this fight, Scott Eastwood fired by my count, without reloading, 125 times. Without reloading. He also isn't using a drum mag, which would hold more. I think Scott Eastwood used to work for American intelligence. I have genuinely no idea though, because the film never tells the audience, and he gets in trouble after going to the crash site because intelligence agencies hear him because the radio on the plane is still active. He went missing 5 years ago after being kidnapped, they say, in Warsaw. So it seems the film just forgot that their opening scene was set in Prague, not Warsaw. The intelligence agents are worried that Scott has joined Alarum without the film ever telling the audience what Alarum is. So they're going to send someone called an arbiter to dispose of Scott without the film ever telling the audience what an arbiter is in the context of this story. And that character is Sly Stallone, playing an arbiter called Chester. Chester is hesitant to take out Scott because they worked together for a long time, he says.
We have a location on Archibald.
Archibald? We worked a lot together.
But he agrees and sets off for Poland to do in Scott and his wife and get the memory stick back for what I presume is the American government. So he takes a helicopter with a pilot who appears to be wearing a uniform showing the pilot to be a member of Alarum. And Chester poisons him, and at this point of the film I have no idea who's working with who any of the groups are, and the film has spent no time building any of the characters. Meanwhile, the intelligence guys have identified Mike Coulter as an assassin and are worried that Scott may be working with him and with Alarum, which one of them says is impossible, as Scott doesn't work with anybody.
I just want to put this out there. I think they're working together.
No, they're not working together. Archibald never works with anybody.
Now, do you remember a few scenes ago Sly Stallone saying,
We worked a lot together.
so which is it? Did these two characters work together for a long time, or does Scott never work with anyone? For God's sake, film, pick one. And then everybody fights. And by the end of the film, almost nobody is still alive. Sly Stallone shows once again that he doesn't understand what grenades do. There are multiple poisonings. Scott joins his wife in Alarum, whatever the hell that is, and they aim to take on the world's security services. They bait a sequel, and American intelligence repeatedly drone strikes Poland. This film had a reported budget of either $20 or $80 million, and worldwide it grossed a reported $189,000. Even on the lower budget estimate, that's less than 1% of what it cost to make. So good luck funding a sequel to this film. How has humanity gone from making something as well crafted as the work of Mozart to this?
It looked bad. It looked like I was going to have to spend the night in Glasgow.
Jesus Christ.